Hi guys, happy Friday. How is everybody? So welcome back to another Dana with the Data podcast. But Fridays I have panels. So I always put panel debates, right? It's debate slash discussion. But I want to have panels every Friday. And I have a good panel tonight. Yes, I do. It's going to be people who you've seen before and a couple of new people. Well, one new person tonight. And we're going to talk about, of course, honey, the Diddy trial. Yes, honey. We're going to talk about this trial every time I go live until the trial is over because it keeps getting juicier and juicier, dirtier and dirtier. Um, and, I walked in when this trial started with my already preconceived, judgment. And now it's kind of changing a little bit. It's changing a lot. So we're going to talk about that. But the first thing we're going to talk about is birthright citizenship. So this past Thursday, May 14th, um, no, the 15th, May 15th, SCOTUS, the Supreme Court of the United States, they heard arguments for birthright citizenship that the Trump administration was bringing forth because they are saying birthright citizenship is for United States citizens, and it was created via the 14th Amendment with dealing with slaves, enslaved children, enslaved families. But now this birthright citizenship have been used to what we call anchor babies, when people who are here illegally and they give birth and that makes their children automatically citizens. So when it comes to, let's say, deporting, it's kind of hard because you don't want to separate families and yada, yada, yada. And we are in the middle of a migrant crisis, and we have been for the last 5 years. So that's the discussion, right? And then we'll get into the Diddy. So everybody, please hit the like button, share this video on your social media outlets. Hi, Barb. Hi, at told lover. Yeah. And hi everybody on the new party. Hi everybody on X. On X, please like and repost on X. And if you have a question or comment, it'd be nice if you could send it via super chat. All right. So let me bring in my first guest. He's new. Hi, Chris.
How are you? Happy Friday.
Happy Friday to you. So introduce yourself to my audience.
Absolutely, everybody. I am Chris. I am a native Marylander, and I am a Texas transplant. 6 years in the United States military, Army to be specific. Former startup operator, and now I work in the area of startups and venture capital. And I consider myself an informed citizen with extensive knowledge of the Middle East, social policies in the United States. And yeah, avid sports fan. Go Baltimore Ravens. We're prepping up for a Super Bowl run. W. Lamar Jackson. We trust. Let's go.
And thank you for your service. You said you was in the military, correct? What part?
Army. I was stationed in El Paso, Texas. Very dry, very hot.
What is it? Oh, you said Army?
Yes, ma'am.
The Army. Okay. Usually military people, yeah, do stay on top of the politics more so than the average citizen, which would make sense, right? All right, so let's bring in the second guest. Hi, Consuelo.
Hello, Dana. Glad to be back with you.
Yes, this is your second time, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, so introduce yourself again to the audience.
Okay, I am Consuelo Davis. I'm an activist advocate, and I've been working on, of course, many things in politics and pushing policy specifically for freedmen, which we'll get to that, which is the Black Americans. I say we're the founding population of America, so that's a part of what I do as far as activism and advocacy, but also I am a mental health specialist. That's my profession.
Okay.
Oh, out of Tennessee. I'm in Tennessee. Yes.
Okay. And let me bring on Nora. Hi, Nora. Nora, what you want last, honey? Because you're a regular.
It's okay. And I was the latest.
How are you, Nora? She's from the new party on YouTube, guys. Please go follow her on YouTube. Introduce yourself, Nora, even though people know you, but just in case we didn't.
Yeah. It's so great to be back. I can't wait to get into the topic. I'm interested to hear how Dana's position has changed because I was on one side and she was on the other. And now I'm kind of like seeing how Dana saw it. But I am the host, the producer. I wear many hats at the new party. And so it's great to be back. I'm excited to talk with everyone here tonight. Okay.
You hear that? Do you hear fuzziness?
Mm-hmm.
Just a
Yeah,
little bit.
Okay, give me a second.
No problem. What part of the U.S. did you say that you two were from again? I'm sorry about that.
Oh, I'm in Tennessee right now, located in Tennessee.
Very nice. And Nora?
I'm in Orlando, originally from Miami, though.
Okay, so I'm in Houston, so at least you share the humid sentiment right now. It's pretty rough. Pretty
Yeah,
rough.
it is. And the
I've
hurricane
lived in
sentiment
both of your
soon.
areas,
Ah,
Miami and Houston.
which is your favorite?
I love Florida. I just South Florida. I was there for so long. I'm gonna have to go with Florida because of the beaches. I love the
Yeah.
That,
sun.
that's
Yeah.
fair. Galveston's been polluted a little bit too many times, and during the Super Bowl
Can you guys
halftime,
hear me?
yes, of course,
You can hear me? Okay,
loud and clear.
thank you. All right, sorry about that. I really do need to update my headphones and my microphone. And it just started acting out as soon as I went live. Oh my God. Sorry about that, guys. Sorry. All right. So do you hear fuzziness?
Slightly, but I can hear you still loud and clear regardless.
Yeah. I'm probably gonna have to just unplug my whole microphone and just speak to the microphone in here. But so let me just get the conversation started. Birthright citizenship. I want to start off with you, Chris. What are your thoughts on the Trump administration wanting to revise the birthright citizenship and only make it to be what it really was intended to be via the 14th Amendment?
Well, I'm just going to present this as a three-tiered argument here because one, him trying to do it himself, right, via executive order, any interpretation, is clearly a violation of the law of the land. But even if I were to grant that premise, number two, it would be highly ineffective. And I just want to go ahead and dive through those data points right here, right? So even Trump appointed judges and Reagan appointed judges and even things like Pew Research Institute would tell us, right? Considering that we don't have a system to replace this, we would create a underclass, right? If we were to leave it up to 680 judges, some people would have different rulings on the citizens compared to the others. And going back to the first premise of Trump's personal interpretation, which does not supersede judicial review, We've had Supreme Court cases in the past, considering that the Constitution is a living and breathing document. That, yes, originally it was around to go combat Dred Scott, but then you had things like Doe versus Plyer, Wick U, the case, I believe there was another case in 1892 where everything went from native born immigrants to Chinese immigrants. So this just shows that over the point of time, and these haven't been that highly contested. We're talking about 6-2 rulings and all these other things. So I think him trying to take the matters into his own hands, if granted that premise, would create an even bigger immigration problem. And we even have evidence from other countries, especially in the EU, that tried this in the late 1990s and had to reform it again in the early 2000s. If this is his solution to the immigration problem, you are creating more problems than the solution would be.
Okay, real quick. So the audio, I muted Nora and I muted Consuelo, but then when I unmute Consuelo, it's the fuzziness. Do you have headphones?
No, I don't. But hold on. I think I know what you think. There's fuzziness you're saying from my computer.
A fuzzy sound, but it's fine now.
Oh,
But too, it did come from mine earlier. So yeah. So
okay.
all right. So you are basically, Chris, you are anti what Trump is trying to do.
100%.
Okay. Consuelo, you are pro what Trump is doing. So you could go ahead and jump in.
Yeah, I'm pro-Trump because Trump is going back to the Constitution and what it actually was meant by the 14th Amendment. The 14th Amendment is not a loophole for people to immigrate here. We have naturalization laws specifically so people can come here and go legally to achieve citizenship. I cannot compute in my mind how two illegal aliens or immigrants can come here and have a legal citizen. For me, that math is not adding up. And then the fact of the matter is there is the 39th Congress that literally discussed the meaning of the 14th Amendment and what the languaging. And so they very much clarified, and this is in the Library of Congress where you can pull up the data or the information, where the framers of the 14th Amendment explicitly stated that all aliens and foreigners or ambassadors that are dignitaries here on the soil, their children are not citizens. So for me, I'm looking at it as the way people are now attempting to interpret it to make it okay for fraud and human trafficking. And I don't agree with that.
Nora, did you want to jump in?
Yeah, you guys are very intelligent, Chris and Consuelo. You guys are going to give like big terms and big words. For me, it's pretty simple. If the first thing that you do when you come to this country is break the law and then you have a baby, I'm sorry, it shouldn't, they shouldn't be a citizen at that point. If you're not legally here, I don't think the children born while you were illegally here should be citizens. So I'm going to go and be on Consuelo's side for that simple reason. They broke the law, and I don't think that their reward should be that they have so and so, quote unquote anchor babies. Then they get benefits for those babies. It's a strain on our system, and that's my number one reason. And I'm a first generation American saying this. So I don't agree. I think that if you come here legally, then have a baby, pay your taxes, and then at that point, when you need help and you need resources, at that point your child is legally a citizen. But for those two reasons, that's why I don't think it should be used. And also going back to the 1800s, it was meant to be used for um, you know, freedmen, Black Americans, and I don't think it's right that now it's being used by people breaking the law and coming here.
I wanna share his post, Trump's post. So let me just do this for the sake of the audio. Just when you're not talking, everyone just mute, and then when you want to say something, just unmute instead of me having to do it, because you may want to jump in and say something, because I don't. It's not about, okay, you talk. You could just jump in whenever you guys want. I want to share this though. How does it look? Oh, no, I want to share it this way.
It looks good.
Okay. All right. So it says big case. This was yesterday. Big case today in the United States Supreme Court. Birthright citizenship was not meant for people taking vacations to become permanent citizens of the United States of America and bringing their families with them all the time, laughing at the suckers that we are. The United States of America is the only country in the world that does this. For what reason, nobody knows, but the drug cartels love it. We are, for the sake of being politically correct, a stupid country. But in actuality, this is the exact opposite of being politically correct. And it is yet another point that leads to the dysfunction of America. Birthright citizenship is about the babies of slaves. As conclusive proof, the Civil War ended in 1865. The bill went to Congress less than a year later in 1866 and was passed shortly after that. It has nothing to do with illegal immigration for people wanting to scam our country from all parts of the world, which they have done for many years. It had to do with Civil War results and the babies of slaves who our politicians felt correctly needed protection. Please explain to the please explain this to the Supreme Court of the United States. Again, remember the Civil War ended in 1865 and the bill goes to Congress 1866. We didn't have people pouring into our country from all over South America and the rest of the world. It wasn't even a subject. What we had were the babies of slaves. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Good luck with this very important case. God bless the USA. I 1000% agree with Trump in this situation because the 14th Amendment was not for people to come here knowing if they do give birth, then their child will automatically be a citizen. They even set up anchor hospitals throughout the state of California, particularly in Los Angeles. So, people have been taking advantage of our country. We have very much lenient immigration laws. The immigration department has been unorganized and backed up for decades. So this is nothing new. However, I say we're in a migrant crisis because under the Biden administration, they literally did allow open borders to over 10 million illegals cross that border. And a lot of them, most likely some of them are terrorists or what have you. Drugs cartel are having a field day. Their profits are quadrupling over 1,000%. Human trafficking is high. At crime in sanctuary cities throughout this nation is high. Gangs, guns, drugs, all of the negatives, nothing positive. And then our government under the Biden administration handed out millions and billions of dollars to make sure, okay, that you're feeding them, giving them health care, giving them work permits, giving them apartments and everything under the sun, all of these resources, and we're paying for it. So 14th Amendment is not for anchor babies. It was for the babies of the enslaved. So I agree with Trump. Now, something came out today, but that's just temporarily to where the Supreme Court 7-2 sided against Trump's Enemy Act. I don't know if I'm saying it right, but it's the Enemies Act. And
Alien Enemies.
the alien what?
Alien Enemies Act.
Yes. So I kind of talked to the judge about this. It was like, well, they temporarily put it on hold that he can't use it until this whole case, I guess, is dealt with. So yeah, so I'm siding with Trump and 14th Amendment. So floor is open.
Well, you already know I side with Trump, and this has been ongoing. I've been waiting for this day because I see it as a huge problem for us, especially for the freedmen, because you have a lot of people coming in here on top of us and then escalating to a hierarchy, and they haven't even contributed anything to America in the way that we have. And when you look at our communities now, and especially like Chicago. I work with people in Chicago. What they're going through and having to experience in this day and time when they are citizens and they should be protected by this government, and the government is allowing illegals to come in and do whatever and giving them resources, giving them citizens resources. And they know that this is a way to circumvent going through the immigration system and becoming naturalized. So it's been weaponized against Americans. So I'm all for Trump and whatever he has to do. It'll be interesting to see what the what happens with the oral arguments on next Thursday with birthright citizenship, because I know that they're looking at it from a jurisdiction and allegiance standpoint.
Yeah, the Enemy Act, somebody put, was to expedite the process. Doesn't mean the case is dead. Exactly. It's not dead, but they just can't use it to expedite. And I have a problem with that. So,
Mhm.
Chris, why are you against this?
Okay, perfect. So I'm going off of obviously what the SCOTUS, what a lot of even the Trump appointed judges, and I would love to hit both of your guys' points. You guys are making some great points, and thank you for giving us all, a panel for the First Amendment. I think it's good to always bounce. I'm going to learn something from Consuela and vice versa, and Nora. But I just do want to provide a little bit of just friendly pushback here, right? So number one, right? Trump is describing, and I'm a very data driven type of person because I believe data tells us a lot of things. He's describing a phenomenon called birth tourism, and that is what Consuela, did I say that right? Okay, sorry. I really hate butchering people's names.
Yes.
My mom would slap me if I ever do that. So, with that being said, right, he is making the scenario called birth tourism, which is defined as exactly what you said. People coming here intentionally, right? Right, immigrants having babies just so they can have the benefits. The data says that is negligible. In fact, the biggest case in the past 25 years that was actually analyzed by the DHS, the peak was in 2015. 36,000 was suspected, still not verified. That's only 1% when you put them in with births in general. Number one. Number two, I would love talking to the host, with all due respect, Dana. Sorry, let me just address people by their names. I think my mom's watching. She's like, be on your manner today. So, with that being said, we do have a legal definition of open borders, and we haven't had technical open borders since 1954, I believe, the month of May. So I'm all about learning and like being proven wrong and things like that. But I just want to know, one, the federal legislation where there was open borders back during the Biden administration, since we all follow the law here. The legal open border policy, and what federal bill was passed under the Biden administration that mandated all 50 states to give immigrants benefits. So, with that being said, I'm gonna land my plane here also before I say too many points here. But I think the argument about the resource constraint is a little bit fallacious, right? When it comes to undocumented migrants, when you do the R minus C equals P, revenue minus cost equals profit, they still net plus 7% to the GDP, plus $358 billion to the local economy. There's zero evidence of them, taking jobs of Americans, right? To the point that Donald Trump's saying, including minorities, right? In fact, we have all the evidence that wage outcomes comes out, and then job opportunities for other groups of people comes in those areas as well. And on top of that, when it comes to things like robbing from Medicaid, the office, or like programs like that, the Office of the Inspector General and denies that entirely. But we can pass budget bills sending another $1 trillion to the overvalued defense budget, while at the same time actually cutting from these programs as well. Sorry if that was a mouthful. I'm sorry about that.
No, just track back a little bit, because what was that first part you were saying? You said that it's legal to have open borders.
No, I'm saying that there's a legal definition, right, for open borders, right? There's legality, like there's a legal definition of it, right? When we throw that term around, right? Right. And what I'm using is what's been in the USC codes for quite some time. Because the last time we had an open border was 1954, right? That means no government agencies at the border, no border patrol around the border, no government jurisdiction of the border, nothing at all, right? That's basically what the definition is. So I just want to know what bill was passed during the Biden administration where we had legally open borders. We all follow the law here,
What do
and
you
and
think?
I'm
What do you think the Biden administration was doing during when they were in office the last 4 years? Like, how did we get over 10 million people who are not citizens here in this country if we did
perfect.
not have open borders?
Perfect. So, okay, I'm going to go ahead and answer that question first with all due respect. And then I'm going to ask you where you got the 10 million number from. But cool, I can actually give you that in three tiers because according to the US Customs and Border Patrol, according to the same DHS that reported on these things, yes, we did have a surge, but why was that? right? There was this phenomenon called COVID-19 that when we went down, right, to the now this happened way before Biden or way before Trump. We have a history of corrupting the Latin American countries, unfortunately, right? We did with Cuba, we did with Trump did a little bit of that his first term with Venezuela, caused hyperinflation to the already ruined economies, right? Causing migration north. Then we had what was called the Title 42 expulsions, right? The Title 42 is part of the 1944 health bill, which quite literally says that you are mandated to stop border operations for the duration of what's called a public health emergency. COVID 19, right, would follow that bill. And we were only allowed to run that bill to as long as the CDC and the UN declared it a public health emergency, which I believe it stopped being labeled in the United States in 2023. But if we look at the data, especially on CPV stats, we saw after the surge, we were trending downwards. And I believe any president would have had to deal with that to the point where late 2023, early 2024, we were already down to pre Trump levels, right? So you would have to make the argument that Joe Biden, right, even though I have mixed feelings about the guy, but I like to look at things from a data point. Did he cause COVID-19? I would love to know that.
Wait, so you saying COVID-19 is a reason why the illegals came here?
Yeah, that's part of it. Yeah.
But
It,
that still doesn't explain well, everything was shut down. So that makes it even worse. So how did they even get through the border if
awesome.
everything was shut down? So
Awesome.
again, there is a process when you walk up to the border. You just can't walk in, and a lot of these people were not literally coming through the proper border channels. United States, Mexico, they were coming in illegally. What do you call that river? The Grande something. They was crossing the river. They was coming in all
The
up
Rio Grande.
the Rio
I,
Grande. Yeah.
I can explain
So,
that. Yeah.
okay, but
Yeah.
I'm gonna give you a minute to explain it. So my thing is everything was shut down. Planes, trains, automobiles, everything was shut down. Which so again, in order for you to allow caravans, because we all seen it on the news, making their way up here because they knew Biden was not going to stop them. To the point to where the state of Texas had to take the federal government to court because the federal border agents weren't doing their job or was trying to block the state agents from doing their job. So when you have a caravan coming here, coming up to the border and different aspects of the border, different locations, and coming right through, even if they were arrested, there was a catch and release. And then they were literally shipping them to sanctuary cities and sanctuary states. And then the federal government was giving them, those sanctuary states and cities, additional funding and resources because it's like, okay, these people are here. We can't let them freeze. We can't starve them. So here goes some money to put them up till we figure something out. But that was their plan all along. So yeah, I don't buy that COVID-19. If anything, that makes your argument worse
Oh
because they
no, I can definitely dive into that. So, with that being said, right, USC Code 1158, right? This is what the bipartisan border bill would have actually solved if Donald Trump didn't come in until the Republican Party, because what you actually mentioned is technically legal, even though this bill was like put in place, or sorry, this legislature was put in place, I believe, 1994. You don't people were abusing what was called the asylum system, right? It's literally says on the first sentence, actually, I can read it out to you verbatim. They can actually claim asylum whether or not at a port of entry. So while I see your sentiment when it comes to U.S. and Mexico, whether it's Eagle Pass or Reynoso or Ciudad Juarez, I think we all can get around here that the asylum process is kind of jaded, right? And it's been that way for like a long time. I think the last person to even try to touch it was George Bush Jr. So, with that being said, the bipartisan border bill would have actually helped to rectify some of those inefficiencies, right? So,
no,
with
here's why I wouldn't have, because we already had laws in place. Now, to be an asylum seeker, we do have a legislation
yeah,
policy for asylum seekers, refugees, but we have a cap, 200,000 or 250. It's half a million. It's not even a million. So let's say from 250 to 500,000, 250 to 500,000, we have a cap annually. So we have a cap for asylum seekers. 10 million let's just do 5 million. 5 million people coming here are not asylum seekers. They don't even qualify for it. You have people from China, you have people from different countries in Africa, not just South America, from all over the world. They were not coming from war torn countries. We already had laws in place. So that bipartisan bill, no, it didn't pass. It didn't need to. The government, the federal government, just needed to do their job, and they wasn't. But I want to get somebody, Consuelo, Nora, you want to jump in? Because me and Chris, we could just go all night.
Oh no,
Right.
I'm loving the conversation though. This is great. I love you guys.
There's been such a drain. I look at the resources, right? First, the resources are being redirected to non-citizens, and then there are illegals, right? So I know people say, "Oh, they have contributed so much to this economy." Well, it wasn't legally the way it should go. And I want to remind people today our rating went down, right? Because we're in having inflation, and we have so many more people here that we cannot handle this. Plus, one of the things that we have researched is the amount of monies that was going out of this country to other countries, not just what Doge has found, but with all the illegal aliens or immigrants that was coming to the country working, they were sending that money back to their countries. I do believe we found that it was like 6.9 billion sent to Mexico. So it doesn't help our economy when we have so many of these individuals coming here and they're sending remittances to their countries. And the resources and the monies is not being recycled here, right here in America. And that goes to just like the things that Trump is doing right now. I agree with the tariffs and bringing manufacturing back to America, because we've had so much going out that it'll just deplete us, and the resources not going to the Americans and jobs not going to Americans. We're becoming second class, third class, fourth class citizens in our own country. That isn't right. I do not agree with that.
Yeah, and if we want to talk about resources, you can give me all these facts and figures. When I started my podcast in the past year, I've been talking to people all around the country. All around the country, people tell you a group of migrants or asylum seekers, what have you, come in, they move in. Let's talk about resources being taken at schools. They have to then put translators in. They have to create new classrooms because these kids aren't speaking English. So those are one example of resources. The other example of resources is our healthcare system. It's already strained by people that are uninsured, and these people coming here, what do you think? They're going to be uninsured because they're working illegally. Those are the strains we're talking about. And there clearly are strains. You can look up the facts and figures since you like numbers. And lastly, the countries that have birthright citizenship are South America, the Caribbean, all third world countries. Why would we want to be like them? Australia doesn't have it. They're one of the best countries in the world. New Zealand doesn't have it. So I think I would want to be like the best. And I think we need to crack down on having that and not be like the countries where people are fleeing. Because what's going to happen is we're going to end up like those countries. I don't want to be like Venezuela. What happened was they were one of the best countries in the world. If you look it up in the 1960s, they were the top 10 country, one of the top 10 countries, top 10 for sure on our side of the hemisphere. Now they're one of the worst countries in the world. Inflation destroyed them. And going to Consuelo's point, that proves you don't want to have high inflation, which is where we were heading if we didn't crack down on the open border. And then to say that the border wasn't open, Chris, come on now. There were tons of videos. So you're in Texas, you should know. People were coming through that border, all sorts of people, not just people from places like Venezuela where they can get the asylum. They were coming from China, like Dana said. They were coming all the way even from Africa. And I'm sorry, I'm not trying to be dramatic, but I think some of them might have even been terrorists, and we just don't know because we don't know who came through. That was the problem. And I'm so glad President Trump cracked down because we don't have that. Border crossings are down 300%. And thank you, President Trump, and the military that is protecting our border now.
All right, perfect. So before I address both your guys' wonderful points, one, okay, Doge, like really? So Elon Musk dips out when he quite literally promised to save the government 2 trillion, but then he says all on his way out, eerily after right before Jeff Bezos announces that he's doing his Slate Auto EV competitor, and after Tesla, loses revenue because of because of Trump's tariffs, which aren't bringing back manufacturing, and I can actually like give you those numbers in just a second, right? Yeah, so all that resulted in, if you read the big beautiful tax bill, right, another $4.6 trillion to the deficit. We're still sending 1 trillion more. I mean, 1 trillion more in the form of DoD funding, which is going to go to foreign aid. Right? Nobody talks about the bigger numbers actually, hurting, like money to like Israel, which goes to go fund terrorist groups, right? FSA, which went on to go join ISIS, Taliban, and all these other things. And they actually told us this in Trump's first presidency. So sometimes wartime profiteering is not actually well spent, and it's well spent. That money's well spent here, right? Going on to the other point, I'm trying to keep a mental note of this. Yeah, once again, you had told me to go look up the data on if it's a if it's a resource strain on the healthcare system, according to the Office of the Inspector General, according to HHS. It's actually not. And going over to the last point, what you just told me is something that I would never tell you to do. I've lived in Texas. I've even worked at the border back in the military. That was like a long time ago, though. You're telling me to go use anecdotal evidence to go paint a picture for 1,900 miles. Well, if I were to do that, right, then I can just say, then if there's a hole somewhere, then that speaks for all of everything, or just to other things. I remember when President Trump said that they were eating the cats and the dogs, and that didn't result in anything. It did result in that same city a 600% increase in crimes against Haitian citizens and a few bomb threats to schools
That's
and things like that. So hold
I
on.
lived in Ohio. That wasn't true.
Okay, good. So that's what I'm saying, though, right? I would never tell you, Nora, respectfully, to go watch a video and use your anecdotal experience because I respect you like that, right? That's why we got the data, right? Let's use the data to tell the picture for all of America. Because here's the thing, right? Somebody go Midas touch CNN, stand at the border when it's empty one day, empty the other day, and then they do this other part when DHS is doing an operation.
Okay, so let me ask you something, Chris. How many
Sure.
people you think came across the border under the Biden administration alone?
Let's see. So that number, I don't have a data point for that, but I don't think it was 10 million because not even the DHS can confirm that. That's why I was wondering where you got that number from.
I have a number. I looked it up, and it's from the Budget House government, Biden's border bust, House Committee on Oversight and Accountability, and the House Committee on Homeland Security. They released a report. They estimated over 8 million encounters nationwide, 6.7 million, which have been at the southwest border.
All right, so here's the thing. I'm seeing 7 different results now. You saw House Committee on Budget, right? I don't want to misquote you, right? That's the one you're looking at?
And that's the one I'm looking at, a government entity.
Okay,
Yes.
cool. Then we have House of Homeland Security, which says something different. Then I'm just gonna go ahead and go to the good old to my good old friends at AP because we use center leading sources only, right? Kick it through the goalpost right through the center. They're saying less than 5. So that's why and then we can go to the U.S. Customs and Border Policy. You can go to cpvstats.gov. So like which one is it, right? So like that's what I'm getting at here, right? So I agree there's multiple government entities because they are actually housed conveniently under the executive branch, right? But then you have multiple government entities that aren't saying the same thing. So I believe that we all need to get to a working number here, and then maybe we can have that conversation.
But doesn't it strike you as that's a lot of people coming into
Yeah,
America
but
all at
I
once
I
within a
gave you
certain period of time?
exactly, but I gave you my base reasons, and it logically checks out because check this out. Under the Trump administration, right? He was obligated according to international law. And by the way, sending the military to the border is not uncommon. We've done that before in quantities of 10,000 numerous times. He declared an emergency at the border in 2019 before C-19 because of 400% increase in crossings compared to the Obama administration, right? So Title 42 got put in place during the last 10 months of Trump's presidency because he had to. If anybody else was there, they were legally obligated to. Mitt Romney, Hillary Clinton, if Obama was magically somehow, allowed to run a third term, he would too as well. So my question to you is, if he had the border under control, right, in 2019, why did he declare an emergency after a 400% increase in border crossings? Because Title 42 quite literally saved him there. I'll definitely admit that.
What Trump initially in 2016, when he took the presidency, he wanted to build the wall, right? And they told him it was going to cost too much, and they didn't want him to build the wall. Now we're seeing the effects of not building the wall.
Well,
Like
that's not an
people
excuse.
people came over, and we have now how, like, again, I agree with Nora's point. We have terrorists on our soil. They have been arresting many terrorists from all over the world. I think they even arrested a Haitian former minister or that was wanted not too long ago. I'll look the story up. I don't want to talk and just putting propaganda out there, but they've also had some African warlords that they found here. So I don't get this. It's okay to keep the border open, and our government and our administration right now that is again attempting to rectify issues from a previous administration, that we keep getting back and back, going further back and back and backwards. We're not progressing at all. Our country, I will say it again, our rating has just, our last rating, it's gone down today and within an hour ago. And that's because of all of the inflation and all of the people we've taken in, and Americans are not working, and they're not working for at a livable wage. So we got to really look at this. This is not a problem that we just continue to let fester, because I'm an American. And if I have to, with my next generations, and they can't eat and they can't have a job, hold a job, this is not going to be a pretty country.
Let me piggyback a little bit. And then I want to go around and ask people a question before we get to the Diddy topic. So Jay said he's lying. It's been proven immigration harm blacks, right? And then he also said, "Let me know if you need me to drop links." Well, I could speak to that a little bit because I
I got
actually did
studies too. It's okay.
um I did a show with Diamond Dave, and that was last summer when the whole hashtag Black Jobs was going viral. And so I did some research, and the numbers came back 70% of working adults, Black working adults, 70% of the Black population who are working makes 43,000 or less. 43,000 is 70% of the Black working population here in America makes $43,000 a year or less. So the majority of Black working population are the ones working the low wage jobs that illegals come in and work, because these corporations could slash the benefits completely and slash the salary in half to an illegal because they have no documentations, because they're getting paid under the table. They're illegals. So if you have 70% of a working class, of Black population, 70% of Black working population making under 45,000, what jobs do you think they are? And those are the first jobs to be replaced by illegals. So when people say they're taking our jobs, when you look at the numbers here, yes, they're taking our jobs, because look at the jobs that they are working in. They're working in the low wage fields. They're just getting paid less than the minimum wage. So that's a fact right there. But the question I want to ask Chris, and then Nora, and then Consuelo: should birthright citizenship apply to babies of illegals? Illegals meaning you're not a United States citizen. You came here illegally. You are undocumented, and I don't know why people want to think that those are two different terms, undocumented and illegal. It's the same. But either way, should birthright citizenship apply to babies of illegals? Chris?
Yes, and here's why. It quite literally says in the Constitution. But before we get to the amount of Supreme Court cases that backs up my decision, because it seems like my predecessors didn't really have an issue, right? It quite literally says persons in here. Number one. Number two, I kind of went back to my first point about the old Trump true social myth, right? He should probably stop going around because there's no data behind it about people coming here for what's called birth tourism. That's been debunked by the CDC. That's been debunked by the DHS. That's been debunked by
Oh, the CDC has been debunked with a lot of their fake narratives and fake stats.
So the Trump appointed. Oh, okay, cool. So guess what then? Fine. We we won't use CDC, but guess who appointed the Fossey you guys have so much issues with? Executive order in March 9th of 2020. Donald Trump was pretty happy to put him at the COVID-19 response team. And yeah, I mean, you guys can go cool, but the other one, so cool. We'll put the CDC out there. I just want to point out Fossey was appointed by Donald Trump. Now, back to the point here, right? So let's just leave that there. DHS, Homeland Security, FBI, CIA, American Bureau of Criminology is all saying that the birth tourism, right, myth is a myth because of the figures that I put. The highest number that we even saw in the past 25 years was 36,000 of these families doing this, which is 1% of births at the time. There hasn't been a higher time since, right? So President Trump can keep, creating scapegoats for things that aren't happening. But I mean, I'm more worried about, tax cuts for rich people and the Ronald Reagan myth of trickle down economics having no correlation to job growth or wages, and hurting American manufacturing in the Midwest because of repeal of Section 199, which allowed these hardworking Americans to go right off business income in order to keep investing in their businesses and hiring people. I got my eyes target locked a little bit more on things like that. Thank you.
Okay, so you think that they should be citizens because of the 14th Amendment, but the 14th Amendment was not intended for illegals children, and we're the only country in the world where illegals come in here, have kids, and they utilize the 14th Amendment. Like any other country in this world, if you have a baby, that does not mean that your baby is a citizen because your parents are not citizens. So okay,
Can I
that's
respond to that?
huh. Mhm.
Can I respond to that?
Sure.
Okay, cool. So with that being said, that would be under the constituent, that the Constitution isn't a working and breathing document. So if we use your premise that at the time, which would be a little bit of a what's called a time hog fallacy, I believe, then under that case, then chattel slavery should still be legal today. Jim Crow law should still be in place today because we shouldn't exercise our legislative systems and constitutional systems in order to account for changes in time in different groups.
No, that's not what it is. That's not a good correlation at all.
I think people are really not like, I was disappointed that we have sitting politicians, Congress people that don't know or understand the Constitution. And when we look at the Constitution, it's a doctrine of the United States and includes our philosophy, how this country is to be ran, right? Or how it's supposed to move, or how we are to adhere to a certain society, how it's supposed to go, right? So when it says born and or naturalized, then to me, you have to, if you're not born here, you have to be naturalized here to become a citizen. It's not that you just get to come here, visit, stay for 6 months, or cross the border illegally, and come here and have babies on the soil. That's where I go and I state it in a different way. And I say, well, really, that's fraud, because you are already defrauding the government to get here, right? That's a criminal activity. And then on the other end of it, you're trafficking a child. You're having a baby here on the soil, and you're pregnant just so you can have a citizen, supposedly, right?
Well,
So,
I want to let me ask Chris this,
okay.
and I'm gonna ask Nora the question. So, um, with this birthright citizenship, if an illegal comes here and has a baby, and that baby is supposed to be considered an American citizen, which is how we got to DACA, right?
Hmm.
Um, but both parents or the mother is illegal. So do you believe in separating the child from the mother when they get caught by ICE and the mother has to be deported? Should her child, who is a United States citizen, be should stay here and then send the mother on? So do you believe in family separation? Or
Well,
should
one,
we take the child and send it on with the mother who is illegal?
so one, I'm never going to advocate for family separation. Number one, number two, I'm going to go ahead and preface my argument, which once again I believe I'm getting the sense in the room that this is a chronic issue. We don't have any
No, but
statistical evidence.
it's just a
Yeah, no,
question.
no, I'm just yeah, no, no. So I'm just
So
laying my like argument here, right? Because
it's
like here's
more
the
so
thing. If
yes or it's more so yes or no. Would you is she the mom is illegal, she gives birth here. Let's say she's been here illegally for 5 years or whatever, didn't fill out no paper, don't have any paperwork. She's just been working under the table, got pregnant, had a baby. She gets caught. You're gonna get deported. But she has a child who's American. Should that child go with her while she's being deported?
Okay, so since I won't get a chance to preface, if this is gonna be like a trap question where I don't get to explain myself,
It's just a
the
question.
answer, no, no, I don't, no, no, it's fine because I've already demonstrated
I
that
don't
this is
want
not
you
a.
to answer
The
it.
answer, no separation of families. I don't get a chance to explain myself. Then no
No, no, no.
separation.
I wanted you. I want to answer it. Then you can explain it. But I
Oh,
want.
okay. Well, I was in the middle of doing. Okay, okay. No, so absolutely, they should not. They should absolutely not be separating families and getting deported. And this is so minute of a problem, according to all the references that I've stated, that it's not. Once again, Trump's creating a boogeyman. And once again, 2015, going back to the most significant cases over the past 25 years, 36,000 at the time. I never even think it got back to that number, even in the modern day, which accounted for even 1% of births of that whole year. Why don't we do things like, fix the actual immigration problem? Now, I'm going to go off of Consuela's point here about building a wall. I have a thesis about how building a wall doesn't work unless you fix the underlying problems. But Trump had a supermajority his first term in office, and he was promising to go have Mexico build the wall if he worded that a little bit better, because our relationship with Mexico at the moment, and even back before Claudia Sheinbaum with Oslo, we ended up building, adding 3.7% using DoD funding. And interesting enough, we actually had a round two of this with the bipartisan border bill. Everybody was complaining that there was constituents in there for funding to Ukraine. It got separated. The bill never passed, but the funding to Ukraine did, right? So with that being said, I'm framing my like argument on it is so minute of a problem. Why don't we just address the immigration process as a whole? Like
Okay,
the
but right now, right in this moment, right now, the immigration, we do need to address the immigration problem, but that's not gonna be corrected overnight. It's not gonna be corrected in a year. But we do have women who are illegals, who are pregnant, who are giving birth, and if they get caught, should they child stay and they go, or should the child go with them?
I've already answered that question, but
You
I'm
said
going
the
to.
child should go with them. Then
Oh no, I know, I don't think so.
you don't believe in family.
I think he's saying that the family should stay right here on American
No, the
soil.
family can't stay because the mom is illegal and she got caught. You got to go. Like, there's no such thing as I'm illegal and I came here illegally. I don't have any papers and I should get to stay. You don't get to stay. But now you had a baby and a baby is considered a citizen, but you got to go. So
So
you
can you tell me what percentage of, because you said
It's
something in
not about the percentage. It's whether it's 1% or 5%. It's
that's
happening.
That's not what I'm asking though, because you said something that was actually legally, like I said, with the open borders thing, right? There is actually, according to the same jurisprudence that we use as American citizens, because we love the law here, right? What percent, because undocumented immigrants, right, there is actually legal protections versus illegal immigrants. In fact, Democratic presidents deport more illegal immigrants than Republican ones, right? USC Code 1258. So my question to you is, right, because I definitely agree with you on the illegal versus undocumented sentiment. So when it comes to these very small, minute, undocumented immigrant, whether they're awaiting the asylum de novo process that the bipartisan border bill would have fixed, by the way, or removal, I forgot what is it. Like there's multiple types of protected statuses. What was that dude? Abrego Garcia, he had protected status from the Barrio 18 case that took place years. I think there's like seven. So can you provide me with that layer, right, for birthright citizenship? Because using the border bill would have definitely decreased this already minute problem. What percentage of this annually is undocumented migrants with the legal protection status versus?
Dana froze.
Oh, I'm just yeah. So I'm just gonna wait for the host to come back
Um,
because I don't want to be like disrespectful. Yeah. So
well, I want to say that I feel like they are here under our jurisdiction. They want to become citizens under our jurisdiction. So the law has to apply to them. And it's very clear that that law was meant for children of slaves. There are no more slaves. So that law should go. I mean, I don't see, we can't pick and choose when we want to have things apply. And I just don't understand. And I don't get why American citizens are fighting so hard for this to remain in place. Can you explain to me why you, as an American citizen, it helps you? Because it hurts you, and it's not. Oh, I'm sorry, Consuelo, you're muted there if you're trying to
You
talk.
haven't painted that picture to me yet. I'm just saying I'm the only one providing data on like the economics of this stuff. So can you paint me? So let's go back and forth on this, right? Because I'm like a finance dude. I'm not above being proven wrong. Cool. You keep saying it's hurting me. Paint that picture for me, please.
120 billion dollars. That's what it costs for illegals that are here. That's one reason why it's hurting you. Do you have kids? You have kids that go to school? Your kids are being hurt by it because resources that are meant for them are going towards these people, these illegal children. If you ever get sick and you go to the hospital, if God forbid you have a major surgery, you have major health care, the bills are stacked up high because of people that are uninsured, and a chunk of the uninsured are those that are here illegally. And the ones that do have insurance is through Medicaid, which is a strain on our resources, or their children. The children of them have Medicaid.
Perfect. All right. All right. Here we go. So I'm gonna go challenge your first claim. Sorry. Can you hear me? My mic's doing some funny stuff. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Thank you. According to the Congressional Budget Office, by the way, that's something that Trump references frequently. Even in the Atlanta Fed, who appointed the head of the Fed? That would be Donald Trump, Jerome Powell, right? We're not going to go into these fancy CNN annexes. There's this beautiful equation called R minus C equals P, and the quantitative analysis has been done, right? How much does it cost annually versus how much do they provide annually, and that leads to the profit to the country to include things for the GDP, right? So when you and I'm going to give this numbers breakdown, but let's get all the way to the end, right? Plus, when you take away all of the cost, it still boils down to plus 358 billion to the economy annually, plus 7% GDP. Plus, according to the U.S. Department of Labor statistics, right, there's no evidence that they're coming in and basically taking these jobs. In fact, the number of open jobs has actually started to increase over the past like 10 years, according to the same Atlanta Fed, and things like that. And like when it comes to the healthcare system, the Office of the Inspector General, should have done what Doge actually should have done, because they've done internal audits, and I can actually give you the reference for all of these internal audits. And they actually had a special assignment back under the first Trump administration in 2019 to see if this was the case, because he did put immigration as one of his big figures in the first thing as well. Nothing found, right? So I'm more worried is, once again, things that are actually the drivers, right, to the economy becoming bad, like believing in trickle down economics, just like the Cowboys are going to win the Super Bowl next year. I really hope nobody's a Cowboys fan. I'm sorry, I just had to poke a little bit of fun. Ravens fan, let's go. And the fact that somebody said that tariffs were going to bring jobs back, but in the 90-day trade war that we had, we already have Apple leaving. We have another Boeing factory about to invest another 20 million because of the tariffs that left the first time, and things like that. And the American Midwest saying they don't know how they're going to account for the input costs for laying off 1,000 people. I'm more worried about those strains on the economy, but I'm more than happy to go like numbers for numbers, because I'm down to get to the truth. And once again,
You
I'm down
still
to
haven't answered my question how it helps you with them having the birthright. Like you haven't answered that. You're skipping around. You're
you
doing a
didn't
lot of
ask me a question.
hopscotch right now.
Okay, all right,
Yeah, I
cool.
asked, I said, I want to know how it benefits you because people like you, the progressives, the left, I want to know how it benefits you to allow them to have their babies in this country and take resources. How does it benefit you? Give me the benefits and give me the financial benefits.
Okay, cool. Once again, I've already said, because part of this happening is, once again, you guys say that the fallacy here is that 100% of them are illegal immigrants. There was something said in the beginning that an undocumented immigrant and an illegal immigrant is the same thing. That is false according to U.S. legislation. 7 types of protected status. So this is happening under an undocumented immigrant, which, by the way, the data says it's more of them than the illegal ones, and Democratic presidents deport more. Yeah, they're adding 7% to my GDP annually, and quite literally 358 billion. And plus, on top of that, the taxes too, $100 billion in taxes without taking
How are
anything
they
out.
paying taxes when they're illegally working here? That
I
doesn't
can
make any
tell I
sense.
can tell though I can tell you, because I got the answers, right? ITIN. And we're going to go reference the Internal
We already
Revenue
talked about
Service.
that.
Okay, yeah, no, because we're going to keep talking about it, because I never got the ratio. Once again, I'm going to go ahead and grant you that this is a massive issue, even though I gave you the amount annually that this is actually happening, because I'm not going to get a ratio of undocumented to illegal, right? So, with the undocumented route, according to the Internal Revenue Service, according to the OIS, Office of Inspector General, and all these other entities, yeah, they get an ITIN, and that's how we track. Right. And you know what's funny? If undocumented immigrants didn't pay taxes, the IRS is actually using the ITINs to go find out their physical locations. So yeah, that's helping me definitely. I mean, I don't see how that didn't answer your question.
Consuelo, you have anything you want to add? I don't want to overtalk you and give you a chance to ask your question.
Oh wait, is the host coming
You're
back? Or...
muted, dear. Or you're mute. Oh, she muted you? Oh no.
Oh wait, can you unmute your? Oh wow.
No. She can't. Oh man. Consuelo, right in the chat.
Can we
Like,
take 5 real quick? I feel like we're in the heat of it because I love both of y'all at the end of the day. Can we take 5 real quick till the host comes back?
it's all good to me, but I don't want to. I mean, there's a lot of people in her chat.
Oh,
I
that's
know.
fair.
I see Consuelo. Yeah, we're on a live chat. This is a
Oh,
big
I see
audience.
it. Okay, yeah, I got you. I mean,
Someone
yeah.
asked a question in the chat. This is a friend of our show. Do they all apply and get an ITIN? Can you explain the ITIN for people watching since you know a lot
Um,
about it?
yeah, yeah. According to the Internal Revenue Service, right? ITIN is just so one of those revenues that, sorry, one of those avenues that undocumented migrants, right, use to work in the U.S. and get taxes collected from them. And there's provisions within the ITIN that prevents them from taking and tracks them, right, and prevents them from actually taking from your Medicaids, taking from all these other social programs. In fact, I believe the last 2 years, if anybody has used unemployment, they've accounted, I believe, for anywhere from 15 to 17% with taking nothing from it. What was? Oh wow, these comments are moving fast. What was the second part of the question?
Um, I don't know. I had lost the question now.
So, can I ask you a question? Because I'm not even trying to debate this point. I just want to learn a different side of the argument here.
Okay.
When it comes to harming minorities, I've got a take on this, but I'm just going to go ahead and not debate this because I just want to learn something new. How does it harm minority populations when it comes to
Oh,
birthright
she's back.
citizenship?
Well, Dana, you want to answer that or should I?
No, I didn't hear anything, and I'm having an issue that it is off
Oh
in my
no.
house, and I don't know why. And I'm trying to.
Oh no.
I'm on my, what do you call it? The
Oh,
phone, the hotspot. I'm on my hotspot. That's how I was able to get back on. Sorry about that, guys.
no, oh yeah,
Consuelo
it's
was
okay.
muted. She wanted to speak. Maybe Consuelo can answer that.
Oh, I'm so
How did
sorry.
the
Yeah. That's why I said you guys mute. You guys mute and unmute yourself. I don't want to do it. You couldn't
Oh, I
mute
didn't
it.
Oh
You
know that.
couldn't unmute
Lord.
yourself.
Oh, okay. Can you
No.
hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay. So what was the question? I apologize.
Yeah, this is just more of because like we're getting deep into things, and I absolutely love it. I'm just here to learn a new point of view with this question. I'm just not even going to respond to it. I just want to do some research later because I have a take on it. How does undocumented migrants hurt minorities and birthright citizenship? I'm gonna respond. I'm not gonna respond to your argument. I just want to hear something.
Well, for one, I look at how they must integrate and acculturate, assimilate into American society, and that is not happening. It's just a cheap workforce at this moment. What I'm seeing and what I'm witnessing, and for individuals that American citizens, we have every right to have be working and have that first dibs or first choice than the undocumented. Now I know about some plans via mayors, cities for action, um, offices of New Americans, where they literally made a plan to bring in all of these immigrants or aliens and put them in all kinds of different industries and jobs. And that's exactly what has happened with the Biden administration and why at this point in time, Trump has to clean up everything.
Okay, like I said, it's something I need to look more into. I debate on TikTok, and I didn't want to turn this into a TikTok debate. So yeah, no, I just want to once again, always down to look from a different lens, right? According to good old Socrates. That's my guy, by the way. Look.
And Dana answered that question too. I mean, it has to do with the jobs that are being taken. Like when most of these people, and I'm not trying to be rude, when they come here illegally, they're moving into the Black community, they're moving into rough areas, and there's jobs, they're lower wage earning jobs. And unfortunately, Dana gave the statistic. It's a rough statistic, but it's a statistic that is true, that 70% of Black Americans or Black people in this country make less than 43,000. And those are the jobs that are being taken, unfortunately, by people coming here illegally.
But
And
not
so
even,
she
it's
broke it
not even
down.
those jobs. They're even in now in the managerial jobs.
Wow.
They're
See?
in the
True.
healthcare, right? So
Mm-hmm.
these are spaces and industries that we've been in forever and have been able to support our families. And the biggest thing I think is having them to come to our communities, because now you can go in California. We speak to many individuals in California. Their whole community is wiped out because now you have a lot of undocumented illegal immigrants in these spaces and places, and they're also in the politics. So now we're not even able to move politics or specific policies for our community at this point in time, because then, and I've experienced this as well in Florida, where we have the immigrants coming in, they're going to take care of their people, right? They're not
Hmm.
Americans. They're not caring about America. It's moving the Americans out, and we're going to take care of our people.
So,
Um.
True.
just real quick, because we
Mhm.
didn't even touch on the Diddy thing, and that's I'm like maybe
Oh yeah, let's do it.
we
Yeah,
should have did the Diddy thing first. I didn't think this was going to
let's do
carry
it.
on because I think this is going to have to be a part two. So Diddy, what do y'all think of so far of the Diddy trial? And this could be brief, but what do y'all think? Should Diddy do jail time? I
Yes.
say no.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm gonna say yes because I do
Yeah.
believe so. If we look at the five things that he was charged with, right, with all due respect, right, I don't think we should have a pass for for society for things like racketeering, right, and which would be the legal definition, which is passed in USC 1961, is within a 10-year period, large criminal enterprises of things like sex trafficking operations, drugs, or anything like that. I don't think we should set the standard for letting people get scot free with that because at the end of the day, that's organized crime. But honestly though, but honestly though, I've never heard an argument about why he should be free. So I'm just curious about that.
Because why should he be locked
Mm.
up? He
Right. I have a different take.
Yeah,
I,
so why should he be locked up? And the RICO, you need more than one person. It's just him. It
hmm
wasn't racketeering. Honestly, he doesn't fall in the RICO. If you want to hit him with a sex trafficking, okay, that's what they're trying to prove. But it's two junkies that were in a dysfunctional, violent relationship, and it is domestic violence, that's for sure. But they were both two junkies. All this RICO, the sex trafficking, coercion. No, they just had a very demonic, toxic, junkie-ish relationship. Both of them. He shouldn't have
hmm
been whooping on her ass like that, but you should have pressed domestic charges on him. So, and then she walked away with $30 million, and that's the only thing she wanted from the beginning. She just wanted 30 million, and she got it. So, why are we here?
I just have a question for you too. I mean, once again, I'm always down to see like both sides, and I'm gonna be honest, right? The Diddy trial, like I read the trial, so I'm hoping to learn some new things. It's been kind of like a little bit lower on my totem pole. But do you think he should get any disciplinary action at all for what he's done in
No.
the future? Okay.
No, because once you start doing that, then regular folk like everybody up here, us who don't have his money or his status, it's easy for the government to just roll all over us, state or federal. So they're really infringing on a lot of things here. Because what does that say? If you meet a girl, and she lives here, everybody does. It's a small distance or whatever. But you buy her ticket to come see you. You get into an argument. She leaves, and then she says, "Oh my God, I didn't like the way he treated me." Well, okay, if she pressed charges against you,
Uh,
I'm
is it
sorry, I was
me?
muted.
Oh
No, it
yeah.
was
I
me.
was about to, I
No,
thought you
I
went
hit it
out.
by. So if you, like I was saying, you could get hit for sex trafficking because you paid for a woman's airline to come see you on plane ticket. it gets very minute when you would talk about in the schemes of dating. Now it was drugs involved. He was beating on her. None of those charges are put on the table. You're talking about RICO. You need more than one person to deal with RICO. Morally, yes, he's guilty. Criminally, for me, no.
So can you run me through RICO? I believe in RICO, you need 2 to 3 witnesses. Is that what the law says for
No,
RICO?
you need two to three accomplices. It needs to be one.
Accomplices. Okay.
You need to. It needs to be another person in it on it in on it. So when Trump was had the RICO charge with the state of Georgia, it was him and 9 other people. It can't just be one person with RICO. I've never, and I even asked the judge. He was like, "No, that's why it's BS." So morally, he's morally corrupt, but so is she. Now she's getting her life together. I get it, and no, he shouldn't have been beating on her. He does have a history of putting hands on people, particularly women. They both were junkie. So, but morally, yes, he's guilty. She's guilty morally, but no, more so him because I guess she get her life together. Where's the crime? Where's the crime? That's what I'm asking. So,
Well,
anybody want to take that?
my thing is, we don't know if he got his life together. I haven't heard. Everything I'm hearing is over 5 years ago. Morally, yes, he's a morally corrupt person, but she was too. I mean, I don't see the crime. If this is their supposed star witness, they built everything around her. I have not heard, other than uh, the domestic violence. I have not heard a crime that he's done, and that's not even what he's being tried for. He's being tried for the racketeering and the RICO. I haven't seen it yet.
And what was he racketeering? Because racketeering, because I looked it up, you're doing something illegal by illegal means for a profit. So, what did he do that was illegal that he gained a profit from?
Once again, I haven't looked too much in the case. I'm just
You
going
mean
to
to
sit
tell
back and
me
learn from
all your DATs and data and legal definitions, Chris,
it. Okay,
and you
so
ain't look into that?
we got stuff in the Middle East, we got stuff with the economy, we got stuff like immigration, which I'm very glad, I'm very grateful that we had this conversation. I'm sorry that P Diddy's trial was on the lower of my totem pole, but that's what you guys are here for, to educate me on that, right? So
Well, I put that as the main title because it's trending, but I should have did the
yes,
birthright citizenship because, and then I just want to apologize to everybody up here and everybody watching. My internet is just crappy tonight. It was the audio, it was the internet, so it just shot the shits, the program, and so I do apologize for that. I do want to do a part two because yeah, I don't. I should. Diddy shouldn't have been the main topic. It should have been this because I didn't realize that when we're talking about birthright citizenship, immigration, illegals, anything under that, it evolves into a lot of good discussion. So, do you guys want to, swing back to that, or did anybody have any more comments on the Diddy thing?
Well, I
uh,
will just say that with the Diddy thing, I can remember that individuals, they were Cassie's friends, were expressing at the time what was happening with her in the relationship. And I do recall they did attempt to get her to leave and move from Diddy. However, I will just say it sounds like she's a domestic violence victim. And with that, I'm gonna just leave it there.
She is because she didn't want to go. She
Yeah.
was telling people, no, it's okay, it's okay. But honestly, I think she was doing drugs before she got involved with Diddy. See, people want to paint her as all Miss Innocent because she looks innocent, she pretty, blah, blah, blah. No, she is a manipulator. I think she's just as demonic as Diddy. She wanted the fame. She loved the lifestyle. She wasn't ready to give up that lifestyle. Yeah, they do the freak offs, but I don't care if she act like I don't care if she's saying, well, I pretended to like it because that's what he wanted, but you indulge. How much urine was you going to ingest before your morals kicked in at some point? Forget the
mhm.
beatings because that's different. But to have another person urinate in your mouth more than once. So all of y'all
And
was
she
into
was
that
still sleeping
Santana.
with other men on top of it. Like,
Yeah.
she was sleeping with so many like outside of the freak offs. Like, that's why it's hard for me to say it's all his fault. You're, with these freak offs. She was a part of it. She was down. Like, to me, I don't know, like this
Is
is just
she the only
embarrassing.
one that is coming forward?
They
With
they claim there's 3 witnesses. There's 3
okay.
women coming forward. One was
Three
and 2
witnesses, but
ex-girlfriends.
not three victims.
There are
Well, I
people
think
who are suing him in civil, but I don't know
Hmm.
if they want to be a part of this. Now, racketeering is a set of illegal activities aimed at commercial profit that may be disguised as legitimate business deals. Racketeering is defined by a coordinated effort by multiple people to repeatedly earn a profit, typically by fraud, extortion, bribery, threats, violence, or other illegal means. So, what did he do that will fall under racketeering that he gained a profit from? Beating somebody ass, you ain't making no money. Taking drugs, you ain't making no money. Paying for escorts, you ain't making no money.
So can I
And
ask
that's
you
all what the prosecutors bringing to the forefront.
a question about the case? Like, at what stage of the case are they at right now? Have they found
so
all witnesses available, or like what's going on with that?
there's some witnesses that they're saying that don't wanna come forward, so they don't even
Okay.
have all the witnesses lined up.
Ooh,
So
interesting.
this is the first week. So this is
Gotcha.
it
Right.
just started. Damn, Chris, you don't even know when it started. You really ain't into this.
No, no. So listen. Let's. Okay. How
Chris,
about
if
this?
we should have started off with Diddy
Dana,
then.
Dana, 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 check this out, right? How about, and once again, if I got a little bit too heated, let me apologize to everybody on this panel. I love the
No, you
First
didn't.
Amendment.
You good.
How about this? I'll make an because I can just do this over the weekend. I'll make a objective argument to try and defend him going to jail, and then we can just do an hour of that next time. I'll
I think
probably
that'll be good.
yeah.
That'll be good.
Let's
And
do that, right?
and what I'll do, because I probably I'm gonna clip up some of the conversation with the immigration stuff and like that, whatever. Yeah, because I'm like the immigration should have just been for the whole thing. And I don't want to go over 90 minutes, and is we got probably like 10. So let's do like another 15 minutes and we could go back to the birthright citizenship thing. So anything else on the table with that on the birthrights and the immigration and illegals
Um,
that we
I've
need to
kind
touch on?
I've kind of ran through all my arguments, especially on the SCOTUS ruling, and from what I understand, they're gonna have another hearing on it again. So I'll just sit back and learn some things, because kind of went through all the judges, and this isn't done yet. At the end of the day, right? And that's all that follows on my end. I just appreciate the great dialogue.
So Consuelo, because listen, you are literally pushing for Black Americans to have our own box of freedmen, and that goes to the 14th Amendment. So, what are your final thoughts on the birthright citizenship?
I think it's going to help seal a deal for us to a pathway for us to ethno aggregate, meaning that we basically set up our Office of Freedmen Affairs just as well, like similar to the Bureau of Indian Affairs, and then we have our own separate budget, and we can enumerate our people specifically, and then also make sure our resources are coming to our people without having other hands in the pot and circumventing what should be coming to our communities and the freedmen.
Nora?
I think, for me, it's as simple as if you're here illegally, your first act was breaking the law, you shouldn't have the benefit to have children here, legally. So I pretty much stand on I think they should definitely take a look at it and crack down on people that are hopping over the border, coming here illegally and getting American citizens benefits.
Yeah, I mean, so I guess it's three against one, but Chris don't care, honey. He was holding his own. I look at it like this: we have laws in place. The laws were being misused under the Biden administration. You have AOC and everyone else hollering they are asylum seekers. No, they're not. So you have people in Congress who literally forgot the laws and what asylum seekers stand for, what the definition is, and the quota. We don't take no more than 500,000. Now I think it's less than that. I think it's 250,000 max annually. Now, yes, now Trump, he brought in the white South Africans. It's only 50, and he did that to throw shade at the South African president and the Democrats in Congress. I ain't worried about that. However, they are giving them resources.
Nah, I'm worried about that.
I
I don't care.
yeah, actually yeah. Well, I don't. Okay, so I'm not I'm not really yelling on that because it's
Hmm.
49, but they already have public policies giving them resources already. So you know what? Let's do a part two to this discussion, and I want to incorporate the South African
Yeah.
discussion in it as
And I know
well.
a lot on that because I researched it because I got dragged on X and I'm like, all right, I'm doubling down because I know I'm right on why I feel the way I do about this.
I'm actually
Yeah.
pretty well versed in the Afrikaners as well. Just yeah, just because of my studies in the global South. But just a question about the Diddy case. I mean that's fine if it's gonna be three. Is there anybody out there that could well on the Diddy case? Can we go 2v2 on this? It's fine. I'm down to 10 go 3v1 again.
Uh,
But
you you can come on our show too, Chris, because we've been covering it every day at 12 o'clock noon, and I'm very, very versed on the Diddy. That I know like the back of my hand because I'm
yeah,
not convinced
yeah,
yet.
no, I mean
And I
all you guys are smart. I just got to know if I got to worry go against two other supercomputers or three. Like I said, I'm like ready. It's okay.
No, I think with the Diddy thing, people are very uneasy knowing what he did to her with the domestic violence. You can't escape that. So, but I think also when we're talking about the justice system, the law, it's supposed to be blind, but it's biased. I think the jurors are going to be a little bit biased because of the domestic violence. And so, and honestly, I'm gonna blame the courts for that because you're coming down hard on him. And what makes their case so compassionate and compelling is the domestic violence, even though domestic violence had nothing to do with Rico. But there have been thousands, hundreds of thousands of women who dealt with domestic violence and was seeking help with law enforcement, with our legal system, and got shitted on. So, the our system here in America. You need to do better with domestic violence victim, and they have not. When you talk about resources, when you talk about justice, and it's more so. You know how you keep doing. You know how you just kind of like overlook something that you need to pay attention to, and is harming someone, but you don't do anything about it, even though you're not the one doing the direct harm. So now they're trying to, what do you call it, save face, you know, and use Diddy as an example of the face of domestic violence, and we're going to come down super hard on him. But that's not what the charges you're putting on him for. Like, you don't go to prison forever for domestic violence unless you literally kill someone. So yeah, I think we could, well, Nora, you're going to talk more about it on your platform. I do talk about Armand, but just not every day. However, I will be in New York, not next week, but the following week. And I am going to go to outside the courthouse.
I'm so
Hey, hey,
jealous.
look,
I want to
you're gonna
go.
give us the scoop. You're gonna give us the first-hand account, and we appreciate it.
Oh, this is what I wanted to read with the Diddy thing. And my internet and this audio thing just like threw me off because the guy, Peter, who I do host the X Space, he's been in the court. So he's in the overflow room. So today he texted me, and so I was like, okay, because I've been reading Inner City Press, but today he was like, what did he say? He said it was pretty wild. Cassie also got 10 million from the Intercontinental in a settlement like a week ago. So she hit her $30 million mark that she wanted. Dawn Richard testimony was wild. Diddy beating the shit out of Cassie. Defense has some of it stricken as it was highly presidential pre prejudice
Prejudice. Yeah, prejudice. Yeah.
prejudice, yeah.
Mhm.
Violated Rule 403 and 401. Prosecution is using these acts of violence to prove coercion for counts 1 and 2, and a consciousness of guilt, which is part of the sex trafficking and racketeering conspiracy going back to 2004. Dawn testified that Diddy told her and the other singer in Diddy Dirty Money trio that they needed to keep quiet about seeing Cassie get beat because where he is from, people are known to disappear for telling. The prosecution is using this to prove coercion for the sex trafficking counts, and that he was threatening his employees for racketeering. Also, HSI, Human Trafficking Unit agent, testified 2 bags of ketamine passed around by the jury for evidence seized at Diddy's arrest September 16, 2024, and 2 bags of MDMA and ketamine, multiple bottles of lube and baby oil. He was having a freak off to the very end before he turned himself in. And the drugs in his bags, as Cassie described from years before, a black Louis Vuitton medicine bag. The prosecution is laying strong foundation, telling a story. I was thinking as I was watching the testimony of the HSI agent. So I said to him, how can you charge someone racketeering when it's only him and they are charging him and he wasn't making a profit for beating her or his employees? And he says, you don't need to make a profit. They are connecting the sex trafficking to his sexual gratification through coercion. The racketeering is related to him using his employees to threaten witnesses to the physical abuse so he can continue distribution of drugs to the women. A lot of the notes I took at the end of the day would shed a lot of light regarding how the prosecutors are going to prove their case and the theory of how counts 1 and 2 will be proven.
So did he blow up the car? Is it proven that he did blow up Kid Cudi's car?
Well, he didn't take the stand and say yes, but Cassie said yes, that was him. But is it been proven yet? Technically, no, but she said she was a witness to it, I guess, via text with threats or whatever. So I don't know. They're going to try and get him on something, but I think it is leaving a lot of leeway for an appeal and maybe a pardon. Because I just did a clip, me and a judge, about Hakeem Jeffries. And his allegedly, I don't know if it's satire, but it's alleged that Hakeem Jeffries and other politicians, they called communist parties. So where people would dress up as Fidel Castro. It's crazy. I gotta check the video
I
out.
never was a fan of Hakeem Jeffries anyway, so that doesn't surprise me if he's doing that.
They are saying he also has the government of Mexico gave him some land and things of that nature. So
who, Hakeem? They're all crooked. But anyway, listen, thank you guys. Thank you, Chris, for coming on. Definitely want to have you back on for part 2. I got to figure out it. Maybe next Friday. I don't know yet, but figure out a day. Thank you, Consuelo, as always. Nora, you're my fave. Thank you so much. And all the listeners on X, on New Party, on this channel, in the chat, and everyone who's listening. Appreciate you guys tuning in. And I'll be live again on Monday. And catch me on X. So anybody want to say anything in closing?
Yeah, thank you for the opportunity to allow me to learn from all 3 of you guys. Grateful, right, that we can all exercise the First Amendment together. Absolutely grateful. And I learned a lot from Consuelo and from Nora and from Dana. Thank you so much. I think she's muted.
Oh, I appreciate it, Dana, for inviting me again. And nice to meet you, Nora and Chris. And I hope to see you again. Enjoy your weekend.
Thank you so much, Dana, for this opportunity. Thank you to Consuelo and Chris. It was nice meeting you guys. And everyone watching, come see me 12 p.m. We'll be covering Diddy again.
All right. Thank you, guys. Everybody have a great weekend. See you soon. Bye.
Have a good one, guys.